Once upon a time, there was a wee boy who had 5 names: Thomas, Patrick, James, O'Neill, Thumb. In lots of stories, they call him Tom Thumb. If we were French, we would call him Tom Pouce. If we were German, we would call him Daumling. The Russians call him Malchik Spalchik, but as a Glaswegian, I call him Wee Tom, because he is wee. But he is not a midget, a dwarf. He's not a fairy, an elf or a sprite. He doesn't pull his underpants over his trousers and fly through the air. And the reason he doesn't do that is because he can't. In this story of Wee Tom and the bank robbers, there was the most exciting snowball fight that finished with Wee Tom just dripping wet. And his uncle, who's Uncle Dan, that you never really can see him in the books, just see bits of him, his hand or his arm or his ear, maybe a foot on a footstool. His uncle just loves him. And to keep him dry and safe, he said, stand on this table and 3 do nots. Do not fall off, do not sit on the fork, and do not eat the sugar. And Wee Tom said that he wouldn't. But Uncle Dan reminded him that he had. Uncle Dan came back with some clothes for Wee Tom. Wee Tom always wears red things, a red t-shirt, blue jeans, red socks, his shoes and so on. And he put them on and he said to his uncle, after that snowball fight, I'm invigorated. I'm ready for anything, Uncle. I'm ready for adventure. His uncle went to the desk drawer. It was narrow and long and deep, and he pulled the drawer open, and at the back there was a pack of 5 extra jumbo super economy balloons. And there was one left. And of course, it being a Wee Tom story, it was a red balloon. And the uncle blew it and blew it and blew it, and 5 times Wee Tom's favourite number, blew it and tied it with that delicious rude noise that balloons, the farty noise that, the deliciously funny noise that balloons make. And he gave the balloon to Wee Tom. And Wee Tom had this balloon. And he had it, but he couldn't hold it because his hands are so tiny. He's small. And the hands are tiny, the balloon is massive. So Uncle Dan said, let me see there on your shoelace. And he took the shoelace from the shoe and he tied it to the balloon and he gave it to Wee Tom to hold. Now, I'm just going to say this one time, so don't ask me to repeat it. The specific gravity and density of the volume of the balloon had a mass 5 times that of the child. What does that mean? It means he goes up and up and up and up. Oh, did I mention that the window was open? The window was open. And Wee Tom got sucked towards this in the draft. And Uncle Dan dived to save him. Now, if you get the chance to save somebody, you grab them by the hip. You grab them by the knee. You grab them by the ankle where there's something you can hold on to. Uncle Dan grabbed Wee Tom by the shoe, the one with no lace, and out he went and flew up in the air. Wee Tom looked down and he heard his uncle shouting, Wee Tom, come back! But Wee Tom was up there and looking all around, and he could see the whole town. He could see the library. He could see 2 churches. He could see the shopping centre. He could see the motorway junction that causes so much panic at certain times of the day. He could see everything. And underneath him, running out of the bank, he saw 4 robbers with 4 guns and 4 bags of money. There were 20s twirling. There were 50s fluttering. There were 5ers flying. And 10ers are tossed in the air as the bank robbers ran out of that bank. An old lady happened to be passing. She had a walking frame. And these robbers, do you kind of imagine that they would say, excuse me, madam, ladies first? They banged her to the ground, and up in the air, Wee Tom heard crack as the femur, the longest leg and bone in her leg, snapped. Wee Tom started to swim through the air, and he watched them go into their car, a navy blue car, a broken back light, and a private number plate on the car, WTT 5, Wee Tom's favourite number, 5, Wee Tom's favourite number, 5, Wee Tom's favourite number, WTT 555. navy blue, broken back lights, some on the pavement, some on the street. And they drove away. And they went up to the roundabout and round it once. They went up to the roundabout and round it twice. They went up to the roundabout and round it 3 times, checking the coast was clear, making sure that no one would follow them. And then they went away from the motorway junction, back towards the bank, and turned into a little side street. And there was a furniture van parked in that lane. And the boss of the gang clicked a remote control, and the back of the furniture van opened and became a ramp. And they drove that car, the 4 bank robbers, the 4 guns and the 4 bags of money, inside the furniture van. It was a robber's den. It was a furniture van. It was also a robber's den. Amazing. The only person in the whole world was wee Tom up in the air, and he knew this. And he started swimming through the air. Back at the house, Uncle Dan knew nothing about the bank robbery. He had to get that little boy back. His sister, wee Tom's mum, will be crazy if anything happens to that boy. So, he went out. Now, if you're looking for anybody, you'll say, excuse me, have you seen a little boy? Excuse me, have you seen a lost dog? Excuse me, I'm looking for my ball. And across the park, he saw a tiny, tiny little boy. He didn't see any shoelace. And the massive balloon was the size of a regular balloon. And Uncle Dan ran across that park. He was coming to get wee Tom. But the problem was, from the north and the south, from the east and the west, came 4 crows. And the crows were starving hungry, and they were ready for a snack. Luckily for wee Tom, they did not want a wee Tom-sized snack. They wanted the balloon that they thought was some genetically modified tomato, some massive thing like this. Or if you think about it, it may even have been a very, very, very genetically modified banana. This big, red, shiny, delicious-looking balloon. And as soon as one crow punched that, bang! And the feathers were blown off those crows, and were all but naked except for their cheap underpants, where it said reject. And they had to fly back to their nest. Now, the physics lesson that I told you earlier about the specific gravity and density and volume of the balloon was up there. All of that's gone. Now wee Tom is falling. And Uncle Dan ran to save him. And the problem about running to save him was, how can I do this? As an author, how can I get this story right? I can give him a motorbike, I can give him skis for the snow. It was always just going to be too short. But Uncle Dan has to save this wee boy. And what he did was, he pulled off his hat, stuck it out, and the wee boy landed in the hat like a safety net. And he lifted him up and put him in his pocket. And wee Tom felt the warmth and love and safe beat of his uncle's boom, boom, heart, boom, boom, heart, boom, heart, boom, boom, heart. Uncle Dan, wait till I tell you this story. It's not a story. Wait till I give you this evidence of this bank robbery. I witnessed a bank robbery. Wee Tom has often told Uncle Dan exaggerated stories. This one didn't need any exaggerations. Guns, robbers, violence against an old lady, and an escape plan, and a secret hideout. Uncle Dan heard the story and asked him to tell it 3 times, and he was word perfect every single time. It was the truth. So then Uncle Dan said, I've heard enough, tell it to him. And over there was Officer Hamilton, a dick, a private detective, a really good guy, tall and handsome, a policeman. He was working with a dog called Sherlock, called after the very famous detective Sherlock. Scottish detective Sherlock Holmes lived in London for a long time. He was there, and they were exercising. And wee Tom stood on his uncle's hand, and he told him the whole story. And the policeman said, we've heard word of that, but we think the gang went onto the motorway. And wee Tom said, they did not. I know where they are. And he brought out a map book, a little pocket atlas, and wee Tom jumped from one hand to the other, and he pointed out the lane behind the bank. What a brilliant place to hide. Everybody was all over the place looking. But right there where it happened, mum's the word. PC Hamilton got on the phone to his headquarters, and they sent a squad cars. They sent a helicopter. And there above, to the right and left, to the front and back, the gang were surrounded. And they were caught. Wee Tom's favourite colour? They were caught red-handed. And they were put in jail. And wee Tom's to get a reward. And do you know what he said for that reward should be? No, don't bother buying me anything. That dog, Sherlock, I want to sit on that dog and I want to horse ride it all the way home. And the policeman said, absolutely not. That's not a toy, that's not a pet. That dog has a salary. That dog has a pension. That dog is a working police officer. Not a toy, not a pet. Not unless you can horse ride. Well, dear friends, listen to this. Wee Tom is a great horse rider. And if you want to know how wee Tom learned to horse ride, just ask me. That's another story. Or you can read it in the book, The Adventures of Wee Tom, Hooray, It's Me Birthday, by me, Michael Kerins, Glasgow storyteller.